What's going on, my people? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. This is your breaking transfer news show. We are going to discuss Amad Diallo, new deal potentially incoming. A new deal for him. Joshua Zirkzee's future, talks and murmurs going around January. Will they let him go as early as that? Surely not. I want to talk about his future and how we need to have maybe potentially a bit of patience with him for him to adapt to the Premier League. Don't write him off just yet, is the message I would send to a lot of people. Scott McTominay has been speaking to the BBC about his move to Napoli and how he's getting on in Italy and his thoughts on the club as well. There's a new Super League that's about. I want to get into the specifics of that and see how everyone feels. And also, I want to discuss this kind of dynamic with Mudryk, Antony, Grealish, and how Antony's getting a load of media attention, and these two players who have been absolutely dog meat for ages are not even getting a wink in the media. So I definitely want to talk about that towards the end, and there's a couple of little bits on Marcus Rashford as well, but just for the benefit of the people who are watching live on YouTube, those are the topics that we are going to be discussing, and for the people on TikTok, you can obviously see them just behind me there for you, as well as a couple, other little news stories, basically. Apologies first and foremost that this is that it's a 3 o'clock, half 3 we're on at the moment. Didn't have a 12 o'clock show. Had a lot of stuff that I needed to do this morning, so I didn't get round to actually going at 12. But if anything, we've got more news stories because it's been a couple of hours. And in the world of Manchester United, when there's more news stories, when there's more time, you literally give us a couple of hours and some kind of news story will break. Do you know what I mean? So we're always working with those kind of dynamics. If I can just ask a massive favour for people in YouTube specifically, if you hear anything wrong with my audio, please do let me know. I think I've sorted it, but past couple of shows it's been a little bit glitchy and a little bit dipping, and I'm not entirely sure why because it's all relatively new equipment. So if you do hear a bit of skipping or anything, let me know, and I will I'll sort it. We've got someone listening while driving from Philly to DC. That is incredible. I love that kind of genuinely. I love that kind of stuff. To know how mad is it when you're deep? It's someone in America is listening to me right now driving. A kid from Manchester, from crazy. But I appreciate that, brother. And yeah, hopefully we can provide some interesting stories, opinions, and views. So we're going to kick it off with the Amad Diallo story. Manchester United are in advanced negotiations over a new long-term contract for Amad. Only minor details remain. United's intention is to make the renewal official before the end of 2024. Now, the obvious take you can give on this is, obviously, you give him a new contract. I mean, if there's any, we've debated a lot of contracts that we've given over the past couple of years, haven't we? We've talked about, should we have extended Rashford's? Should we have extended Bruno's? Maguire's was a heavy contract that we give him initially. Antony's contract we give him. Mason Mount's on 270k a week. Like, there's loads of players that you can go through, like list by list, by player, and you can say, should not have given them a contract. Definitely not. This one, with his age, with his ability, it's a no-brainer. And Amad doesn't really strike me as the type of guy to want, I want to be on what the top earners are on. I want to be what Bruno's on, what Casemiro's on. I could be completely wrong on that, but you can't seriously be sat there now thinking to yourself, whether you are driving, walking somewhere, or doing what you're doing, could be having a poo, who knows, sat there thinking that United are going to give him £350,000, £400,000 a week. It's not going to happen. So money isn't a thing here with Amad. He doesn't seem like that type of guy. If you listen to him, especially in pre-season when he's talking about his new contract, he's speaking about, he's happy to stay here. Why not stay here forever? All these things that you want to hear from a player. His application is obviously really good on the pitch. You don't hear any bad news stories about him off the pitch, which you can't say for certain others. I can't find a reason why you wouldn't give this guy a new contract, and I think a lot of United fans, especially after that Manchester derby, would probably agree with you. But this is a kid I've been tapped into for a while, man. This is a guy, there was a video that, I can't remember the guy's name on Sky Sports. It's a journalist, Mark something, I think it is. He covers a lot of football, and he did a video 3 years ago saying, United fans, you have got a talent on your hands. Amad Diallo, I might get ridiculed and put a lot of pressure on the kid for saying this, but he is the real deal. And I felt the exact same. Like, the lads will tell you on this channel, go back years of videos that we've been doing. Years ago, I'm talking. When Amad was, going through his tricky loan spell at Rangers, even back to his days when we first initially signed him, and we was looking into him when he came from Atalanta. The bits that he was doing there and the noise that was coming out of Italy about this kid They're all raving about him, absolutely raving about him. People saying he's like Messi in training and all these kind of things. Now, you don't want to put too much of a comparison on the kid because obviously the egos blow up and United fans, and I include myself in this, by the way, have this kind of thing where we put players on a pedestal and we overhype them, and then when they have a little bit of a downfall, it's like, oh, well, they're not as good as we thought they were, and da-da-da. And to give you some examples, Rashford's been an example of that when we've been comparing him to Mbappe when he scored this third goal season. Lisandro Martinez, I think, has been slightly overhyped, just in my personal opinion. You can go through a list of players where that's happened, right? And I don't want to do that with Ahmad, but he's obviously hugely talented and gives you everything you need off the ball as well. So his development from, not really getting in, it came in under Ole. It was like, well, we'll see what happens. Well, there was people at the club, which Rio touched on this the other day, talking about like they don't know his best position. They don't know, if he's got the physicality for the Premier League, if he'll adapt. That's just put away by the wayside now because he's our best player this season. Him and Mazraoui together are I always say it, but that's the type of standard that you require from a player. If you can get players up to that level throughout the full team, I'm talking starting 11s, whatever, then you've got a good chance of winning something because they have great ability. Technically, in all departments, they're really good. They offer solutions in a lot of areas. They're versatile players, and I can go on and on and on and on. So, getting him signed would be one of the big steps for sure. Obviously, don't go mad with the wage. Don't, because you want to build these players up. But like I said, I don't think wage is going to be an issue with them. I think he's happy to stay at Manchester United. And who's not happy to have Amad Diallo sign a long-term deal at the club? It can only be positive news. So the fact that this is coming out, I mean, we've heard rumours and whispers over the past couple of weeks or months. But that's a good deal to get done. The hate Garnacho gets is outrageous. He's still 20 in my opinion. He could be one of our best players. Look, Garnacho is a different situation to Marcus Rashford. I was going to touch on Marcus Rashford a little bit later on, but we might as well bring it into the conversation now because we are talking about wingers at the club, right? The multiple reports coming out about him. So one saying MLS at some stage in his career. Some are saying the Bundesliga could be potentially interested in a loan. Saudi Arabia's been mentioned. Al Ittihad, I think it is, who could be interested in that player. And all these clubs and rumours that are going about, and you could probably guarantee 98% of them are absolute bullshit. There's probably a handful of clubs who could afford Marcus Rashford. One, I don't think he would ever go to Saudi Arabia anyway at this point in his career. I just don't see it. People will look at the human and the person and the wages, and they'll probably put two and two and get five together in the head. That, oh, actually, he will go and do an Ivan Toney. He will go to Saudi. I don't believe that's the case. I think in his head, right now, he'll be thinking, one, I want to get into the World Cup. I want to get into England's squad for the World Cup. But the way Anthony Gordon's playing at the minute, I wouldn't even put him in that team. No chance. But he wants to get himself back in there for contention. So I think you're going to see a bit of a reaction from Marcus Rashford. Whether people can buy into that in terms of, okay, well, now he can stay a long term, I doubt it. Because as fans, we've seen enough performances from him where he's shown you something, you're like, okay, let's go, and then you want him to kick on to the next thing, and then he drops off the face of a cliff again, and everyone's talking about his potential and how we need to unlock him and da-da-da, and this is a guy who's 27 years old, he's not a young kid anymore, he's not Amad or Garnacho, he's had his time, he's been at United forever, do you know what I mean? So I've always been amongst the opinion that I think it's time for him to move on. But if we do get a reaction out of him after all this stuff, if he does start on Thursday and he scores against Spurs and then great. It can only be positive for us. But we'll just have to wait and see what kind of reaction we get if he's even in the squad. We are going to have the Spurs preview later on, by the way. Me and Sam are live at 7 o'clock, so it'd be nice to see some of you guys in there, getting your opinions in, score predictions, team lineups, and we'll discuss some tactical stuff as well. It's just enough now. He's 27. He looks like he's deteriorating. There's just no point. Zirkzee's a new signing. Why are you guys so quick to judge? I'm not. If you listen when I get onto the Zirkzee topic in a moment, you'll see. You'll get my perspective on it. Neil in the chat. Afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to you, sir. Afternoon to everyone as well who haven't put in the chat, but I know you guys are watching / listening. Let me know your feelings about Amad Diallo signing a new contract. Can only be positive, right? Can only be positive. On to Joshua Zirkzee. Right, so this is coming out from Tutto Sport, an outlet in Italy. Make of it what you will. Joshua Zirkzee's agent, Kia Joorabchian, if that's even how you say it, probably butchered that, definitely. We'll hold a meeting with Manchester United in the coming days to understand the club's plans for the striker ahead of the January transfer window, right? 1 second. Oh, I just need to swig of that. God damn. Right, Zirkzee. So I had a friend. I don't know if he's watching this now, but as the first game he watched him, he was like, he is basically a Dutch John Walters from Stoke, and he's never going to make it in the Premier League. And he was like that quick to jump on it. Now he could potentially end up being right. He might be, you know, it might come to fruition. He might end up leaving, and he might never ever adapt to Manchester United. Okay. But the one thing I will say in his defence is the guy has been at the club for 3-4 months, okay? I remember there was a lot of people who was writing Manuel Ugarte off in the first couple of weeks saying, why on earth have we bought this kid? Why have we spent £50 million on him? Why have we done this? Why have we done that? For months, well, for weeks they were saying that. Saying, I don't really fit in. I don't know even if he'll adapt. Now look at everyone. The tone has completely completely changed, sorry. We've not exchanged him. Everyone's going raving about him. He is the extinguisher. I'm copywriting that name, by the way. El Extintor. That is Spanish for the extinguisher. He puts fires out. He's going to be a really important player for us, especially with Amorim coming in as well. Like it was bound to click on it with Ugarte because he's played in the system before, and looks really, really good. So that is one thing I will push out there to say. Everyone's kind of made their mind up about Zirkzee already, and obviously everybody has the right to their opinion. And you might be right in the end. You might be right. But United fans have always supported the players at least for a season or season and a half to see how they acclimatise, to see if they do adapt. Because I do think, as a player, I guarantee you right now, if you watch Joshua Zirkzee in training, you would be like, unbelievable. His technical ability is as good as anyone. Honestly, we were talking about how Ahmad and Mazraoui are really good from a technical front. Zirkzee is a close level to that. I promise you. So it's not more of a case of adapting that. It's the pace and the time on the ball that you've got with Zirkzee. That's what I see. That's what I feel anyway. When I see him in a game, I'm like, Casemiro had a bit of this as well when he first came from the Spanish league. Like in his head, he feel like he'd have more time, and you don't. You get pressed the life out of in the Prem, don't you? Like you have a couple of seconds and then you've got to release it. Zirkzee, it could just be a case of, okay, let's start doing things quicker. Let's get my my positional sense right. It's a new system for me as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying he will be successful, but I'm willing to be a lot more patient than some people. Some people are just straight down to the point. I'm like, nah, I want to let him go. Hi, pal. Can you have a look at my YouTube channel? Any advice would be appreciated. Yeah, I can do. Let me just type your name down. I'll certainly have a look at it. Yeah. Give me a second. I'll have a look at it after the show, and I'll let you know, yeah? Ahmad's new contract's great news. Zirkzee, not a fan of this. Hopefully proves me wrong. Steph saying big up Nick and Real Reds Talk legends. If you can, guys, if you are watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed to you're watching on TikTok, Jesus. If you are watching on TikTok and you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please do hit that link in the description. We're on 9,361 subs. So if you could take 10 seconds out of your day, if you're feeling positive, you want to do a good deed of the day, hit that subscribe button and come and join the community, because it's growing. It's growing every day and it's getting bigger, so I appreciate it. Would you take Nkunku for the 10? Listen, again, if you know me and my thoughts, I spoke about Nkunku before he went to Chelsea. When Ragnick was talking about Nkunku, I was speaking about him. I love him as a player. I think his injuries are a little bit suspicious, but if you're asking me just now, would I take Nkunku in a 10? 1,000,000%. Could I see a world of Nkunku, Gyökeres, and Ahmad as a front three? You fucking damn straight you can. Damn straight I can. That'd be great. But I don't know if it'd happen or not. I think that was more of maybe a couple of years ago. Now he's at Chelsea. It's like, will it happen? I'm not too sure about that one. But look, I've just been speaking about Zirkzee trying to adapt, acclimatising to the team. Didn't recognise you, Nick, without your headphones on. I know. What I was trying to do is I was trying to figure out, because the past couple of days I'm like, people are going on about the audio. I don't get what's up with it. And the past couple of shows I haven't noticed. So like I've looked at it back and I'm like, it's skipping a little bit. No one wants to listen. Some people don't want to listen to me anyway. But especially if I'm like skipping on each, no one wants to fucking listen to that, do they? So I've unplugged my headphones. I've done a load of stuff. Hopefully the audio's been absolutely clean, and if it has so far, then it will remain like this. So I will be headphoneless for the foreseeable until I sort that stuff out. But that's like on the list of a million things. It's the Christmas period, and as you can imagine, as I'm sure you guys can all imagine as well, it's just utter busyness and craziness. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on Zirkzee. I'm going to move on to the next story. If you are just joining, these are the ones that we've covered. Spoke about Ahmad's new deal. Spoke about Joshua Zirkzee's future. We're going to move on to McTominay. A couple of quotes coming out from him. Do you rate Zirkzee from Canon Media? I have just covered that, so I don't want to go back over it. But patience is what I'll say with him. Patience. Thank you for everyone who's smashing that like button as well on TikTok. Let's get more people involved in this conversation, even if they're troll fans. I don't care. Let's have a conversation. On Scott McTominay leaving Manchester United, he's saying it was a case of there's an opportunity there. Do you want to go? Obviously, I know from their side that FFP is difficult. It's not easy for football clubs to make a decision in regards to homegrown players. But for me, that was never in my thought process. It was a big decision, but it was quite straightforward. I saw the passionate Napoli fans, I saw the coach, I saw the players, and I saw an opportunity there for myself to push my career even further. And you know what? I'm buzzing for him. There was always times with McTominay's career at United where you'd look at him and you'd be like, he's a good squad player, but we need a bit more. He's definitely not a starter. I mean, the whole kind of McFred debacle that went on for years, you sat watching, you're like, fucking hell, like, I can't be bothered with this week in, week out. Everyone was just talking about that, and it would be the only conversation, and you got bored of it. You got absolutely bored of it. And then he comes out, he's not a 6. He hides from the ball. He doesn't like receiving it. And to be honest, if you're looking at positive things that happened under Erik ten Hag, McTominay was definitely one of them. And the kind of crash in the box role that he introduced McTominay into, and he started scoring goals, and you saw what he's really good at. And he was really good at this in the academy days as well, if you had followed him for a while. So ten Hag got the best out of him there, and you heard... This bit's really interesting, I think, because you heard when ten Hag and Wilcox were going back and forth. Ten Hag wanted to keep McTominay, right? Because he was probably looking at it, he's like, right, the way we're playing is quite risky, and we do concede goals. I mean, that's the understatement of the year. It was so open. It was, Brentford were having 30 shots on goal. It was just utter chaos. But amongst that chaos, you could bring a McTominay in, and he could do what he did against Aston Villa in the last minute. He could do what he did against Brentford and score 2 in the last minute. I mean, he did it against loads of teams. The guy, I think he got double figures. He was one of our top goal scorers. So you could obviously see why he didn't want to let him go. But in order to move on as a club, you look at your feelings at the time. In order to move on at the club, look at Ugarte now in that position. He's younger than McTominay, by the way. Younger. I know he's an academy player, but he's come in 23 years old, and he's much more tailor-suited for that role. Much more tailor-suited for that role. And you're going to get more, long-term, you're going to get more out of him. I know he costs more, but when you put it together, I don't think Ugarte's wages are going to be outrageous, so probably a similar level, 100, 150k, right? The price you paid for Ugarte was 50 million. You saw McTominay for, was it 30 million, 25, 30 million? So that's good business. That's the way you want to do it. You can see why Wilcox was pushing it so much. And now Ugarte's come in. Tell me right now, would you rather have Ugarte in midfield or McTominay? There's your question answered. It's a sensible decision. It was tough at the time. There was a lot of emotion involved. But you have to take the emotion out of it and do the deal. And that's what we've done. And I'm happy for him. You've seen a lot of United players go to Italy and be successful. Ones we don't like, ones we were close with, ones we appreciated. Chris Smalling went to Italy, done really well. He was calling him Smaldina. I'm pretty sure he got in Team of the Year. Alexis Sanchez, I think, won a Scudetto, didn't he, with Inter Milan. Darmian was playing in the Champions League final not too long ago as a centre-back against City. They've all had huge opportunities whenever they've moved there. And I think McTominay, is he going to, you're gone from Marini, Manchester, you're living in Naples, you've got a super passionate fan base, you've got a very experienced coach, a hard-working coach, which you probably prefer anyway, the type of person that he is, and you're loving life in Italy. It's a great move for him. Great move. And he's just coming into his prime years, and he's actually doing really well there as well. He's playing well. So I'm genuinely happy for him. And I think Marcus Rashford could potentially take a leaf out of his book. Napoli, if you're listening, if you want to do a deal where we swap Kvaratskhelia for Rashford, we're here all day. I'll take it. And I think Rashford going to a different league, I think he could actually do bits there. Genuinely. I think he could do okay. Nick, would you give Maguire a new contract? I would if you asked me 1 year ago, would have said no. Yeah, so on Harry Maguire, me and Sam touched on this last night. I think he significantly went under the radar against Man City in the derby, because obviously Ahmad got the plaudits. People were speaking about Bruno, people were speaking about Mazraoui and the usuals. And rightfully so, because they had a good game as well. But Harry Maguire, go back and watch his performance against City, colossal. Haaland still in his shorts right now, in his pocket. Dealt with him. As the central centre-back, he's really good in that role. Because you don't, it's not as much running. When you're in the wider channels, when you're playing as a right-sided centre-half or left-sided centre-half, you're dealing with a lot of individual 1v1s. It's, Maguire's not the most agile. He's obviously not the quickest, so it doesn't really suit him. But in that central, when he could be a leader, when you got one either side of you, you got like, it might not feel like it, but you got a lot of experience there. You got De Ligt, who's been at Bayern, Juventus, and Ajax, has played in the Champions League quite a bit. And then you've got Lisandro Martinez, who has that good kind of leadership about him as well. You've got a rock core back three there who are quite switched on, I would say, for the majority of the time. But with Maguire being in that central area, the way Amorim likes to play his football, obviously a lot of the focus is central, and a lot of the players kind of compact in there, and it gets a bit busy. So obviously the wing backs are deployed in there to stretch the play, right? And a lot of the time that's where our attacking phases come through. It's through the wing backs. So when you have Maguire as that central centre back who can ping it over to the left hand side, he's got those great switches of play that he can move onto the right hand side as well. It's just perfect for him. It's a perfect role for him. I don't know if anyone plays the new FIFA, but do you know when you get the plus on that's what he's got. It suits him so much, and that's something we've spoken about for a while. So if you're asking me if I would give him a new deal right now, I don't want to be reactionary, but if it's a 1 or 2 year deal, let's say a 2 year with an option for an extension, right? Do it. Go for it. Age, people seem to bring age into it a lot, but when you're a defender and you're in a back five, it's not too bad. Your age isn't shown as much. Do you know what I mean? Especially in games like that where you're sitting deep against Man City. And you a lot of you plays box defending, which he's really good at. I'm all right with it. I'm happy with it, man. Just for me personally. I think Dallow's the weak link in the defence. Can't see the appeal about him. Even Wan-Bissaka is better. I think another point I made last night. One thing with Mazraoui coming in, I think that signing alone has really opened my eyes to the level of quality in terms of Dallow and Wan-Bissaka. Because when I watch him, if you think under Ten Hag, we watched Wan-Bissaka and Dallow for so long, it was like we almost became like accustomed to it. Do you know what I mean? Like this is what we see. This we was raving about Dallow, and Wan-Bissaka's a really good defender, and it just goes to show you can have a blend of both. Do you know what I mean? Mazraoui has come in. That's the level that you need. He's miles clear of Dallow. Miles clear of him. If you can bring in another player of that quality, which will be hard to find, especially for the price that we got Mazraoui of, go and do it. Because I agree, I'm not convinced on Diego Dallow at all. I like everything around that you hear about him and all that kind of stuff. That's great. But ability on the pitch, he lacks his concentration a lot of times. He can't mark people off corners. His back post defending is shocking. And in a sense as well, he's not really great going forward. I mean, he had that one assist for Diallo, didn't he? Was it against Brighton? But apart from that, he's on the left side as well. Every time I watched him against City, when he got a 1v1 against Walker, I'm like, well, nothing's really going to come of this, is it? So I'll tell you one player you need to go and get right now in that left wing-back role. It is Robinson from Fulham. Go and watch him against Liverpool at Anfield. Fearless, rapid, strong. That is who I would go and get. He's gone above Alphonso Davies for me. I'm not saying he's a better player, but I think the Alphonso Davies deal could be tricky to do. So I would go and get Robinson at that left wing back. And I agree that Malacia needs time and a chance as well, absolutely. But I think Malacia is just happy to be playing football at the moment. It really is. Right, let's discuss this new Super League format. I don't know if anyone's seen that. So, this is, if you've ever seen PR before in your life, this is it. Let me just get a quick swig of my drink, and then we'll talk about the story. The lunatics are back. So, This is the new Super League that they're proposing. I mean, I'm sure they've done about 9 different versions of this already. But so the name has been changed. Wait for this. To the Unify League. Have you ever heard more of a PR name than that in your life? The Unify League. Jesus Christ. A22, the competition's promoters, have sent an official letter to UEFA to get official recognition for the tournament. The matches will be streamed for free, but subscriptions will also be offered for those who want to watch matches with minimal advertisements, able to choose the cameras they want to watch the game from, live statistics, and other options. A couple of those things I wouldn't mind in the game, to be fair. I think that'd be pretty cool. Rankings in each club's league will determine which category they enter the competition in. There will be 96 clubs divided into 4 categories. The star category, best, will have 16 clubs. The gold will have 16 clubs too. And the third and fourth categories will have 32 clubs each. Look, there's probably journalists and you know, people in the football world who are doing essays on this and, you know, writing whole thoughts about it. But if we're being completely honest, is there not too much football already? I mean, they're talking about the Club World Cup at the minute, which is just, if you look into that, it's just a load of bollocks anyway. Everything that's gone into it, but teams that have been seeded into it, the things with Inter Miami and all this stuff, it's just money. Do not let them fool you with these kind of tournaments. It's all fucking money-based. All money-based. Like, things like, I don't think that you can, I think you can remove these from so the Nations League, I think you can just completely fuck off. I can't stand that like kind of thing. No one cares about it. It's not the World Cup. It's not the Euros. It never will be. Get rid of that. The Club World Cup, something I'm not a fan of either. Get rid of that. The pointless friendlies, when people play, you know, San Marino, get rid of that. And also this thing as well, whatever you're calling it, the Unify League or any bullshit, get rid of that as well. The only thing, and people will say, yeah, but what about non-league clubs and blah, blah, blah. I'm speaking from a United fan's perspective, right? The only thing I care about right now is Premier League football, domestic competitions, the World Cup, and the Euros. And I would probably go as far to say the majority of things, the majority of those things I'm on about, that's all people care about. They're not bothered about, like, who's asked? Like, oh yeah, we have to take a break, a 2-week break. They're traveling all over the world to play some fucking dentist in Tahiti. Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't give less of a fuck about those kind of things. Just my personal opinion. So if this is a new competition that they're trying to introduce, I mean, I remember when the Super League first came about, I allegedly was one of those people who was on the pitch when we got the game against Liverpool called off, right? And that's because we felt so strongly about these people trying to come in and trying to get United to the fact that they joined it, Liverpool as well, to get to play these fucking Real Madrid in Saudi or America and like get to fuck. This is the Premier League. You know, games have to be played at Old Trafford and Molineux and, you know, City Ground and any of this, like, to even start discussing and trying to turn it into like the NFL, where obviously they play games in London and teams want to play it in New York, and it's just like, I can never ever get behind that kind of thing, just for me personally. It's just not my thing. But obviously everyone's entitled to an opinion and people feel different, for sure. Do United need a better goalkeeper than Onana? No, keep Onana. Keep Onana. Yep, let's do another league. There's not enough football. Exactly. I mean, footballers, people will throw the thing out there when they talk about footballers being treated like cattle, right? And you know, and then people say, yeah, but look at the amount of money that they're on and da. That's not my issue, the amount of money that they're getting paid and, oh, they should be doing it because they're on £300,000 a week. That's not what I'm saying. What you take away from it is the quality of football that you watch. You know, you can see it now in the Premier League. It's competitive in terms of these teams that are going at it and going up and down the table, but it's not sustainable for a team to dominate because of the amount of games and the amount of minutes that they're playing. And look at the crash that City are happening at the minute. They're done. They're done. Foden was Premier League Player of the Season last year. He's got 1 goal in 10 games in the league. 1 goal. Rodri's out for the year because he played 70-plus games and he's just done. You can go through a whole list of examples. There is too much football at the moment. And what I think they're going to end up doing, they'll introduce more games and more leagues and more competitions for more money, and they will shrink the game size. So they'll I don't know if they'll definitely do it, but there's an idea floating about that they're going to change 90-minute games to like 70-minute games, for example, or 60-minute games, so it's just 1 hour. That I wouldn't like anyway, and I think that would be utter craziness. But that's one theory that's floating about. And when you get into that stage to fit certain competitions in, it's just nonsense, isn't it? In reality, absolute nonsense. My Damned United, big up yourself, brother. Hope you're okay, mate. Whatever you're doing in life, I hope you're good. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Voice is breaking then. So look, that's my opinion on that. The Unify League, I think it's utter bollocks. And my opinion will not change on that. I want football to stay pure. I want it to stay how it is. And I like where it's at. Probably a year before or 2 years before is where football was like really. Even with the Champions League now, I don't know if it's like a nostalgic thing, but when I'm watching games, it's like they don't hit the same. They don't hit the same. For me personally, there isn't too much football, not at all. Apparently I'm wrong, but like I said, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Yeah, if you can, before you head off, guys, leave a like on the video for us. Subscribe to the channel. We are back in 3 hours' time with the Spurs preview, because obviously we play them on Thursday night, don't we, in the Carabao Cup quarterfinal. So me and Sam are going to have our predicted lineup, score predictions, and obviously a bit of tactical analysis on Spurs and where they're at. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that on Thursday. And then we've got, obviously, a game on the weekend as well. I mean, it's the festive period, isn't it? So games coming thick and fast. Appreciate everyone tuning in, taking time out of the day. I'm sorry it's not a 12 o'clock show and I had to do it at 3:30 instead. A load of stuff went on this morning, but regardless, we still went live. And we're going to be back live at 7 o'clock tonight. So hopefully I see as many of you as possible, even if you're Spurs fans in the TikTok chat. Check out Real Reds Talk. The link is in the bio. Smash like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll check you guys